Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 14th of September. So let's have a look at the data coming out today. Well, we've got the Australian, well, we had, beg your pardon, the Reserve Bank of Australia's Governor Lowe speaking at 3:45. After, well, this afternoon we've got inflation. Now, I mentioned yesterday inflation. Don't expect big moves from this because it's largely being ignored. However, if it's continually high and continually pushing at the boundaries, then in which case we might see more of a reaction to it. Either way, we watch out for some volatility at 130 anyway. It's well worth being safe than sorry. So that's today. So let's have a go and have a look at the Forex markets this morning, starting off looking at the euro dollar. Well, yesterday it did whip down there, breaking through the monthly pivot. Let's tick that one out of the way effectively now. Where to now? Well, it got quite a bounce off of that. Off those lows, and it was a solid old move. You see on this 4-hourly chart that we saw there come just after midday. It's a 1 o'clock bar. Off it ran. Got a decent move. Since then it's been quite consolidated. However, it's consolidated towards the upper side of this move, which makes it look quite bullish. Yesterday I was talking about the weekly pivot, which is above here at 1832 sort of region, and I still wonder if it will come into that. Now, if it's going to push on through, that's fine. That's back on the bigger bounce. If we get a reaction to that, I'd be just watching out. It has got an untouched daily pivot below. The probability of those being hit is quite high. So if it starts putting in the correction around that weekly pivot, then, well, as I say, watch out. You could be ended up with a target down to the lower side there. Now it's still coming back to this 4-hourly, still really showing lower highs, lower lows. So even with it, even catching that weekly pivot, it can do that and still be in its sort of lower target level there. Now also, there you go. I just popped that trend line sitting across there. So running into that sort of level, yes, it could just pierce it a little bit, but you can see there's a bit of confluence in terms of resistance with a 34. We saw the 34 last week just being run into. 34, the trend line, and the weekly pivot. So there's a bit around that. However, it's looking okay at the moment to push up that way. It's whether it does it post 8 o'clock. Right, the pound. Looking at the pound then, the pound, we had the double top yesterday. It sold off, found support into its 50, its 21 on its dailies there. It always held up better than anything there. It was running quite strong relatively yesterday, and well, today it's putting this bullish engulfing sort of bar in there. At the moment it looks like it could get a continuation and pushing up to those prior highs and maybe beyond. So looking more solid. It always did look a bit more solid. Last week it pushed up really strongly, mid to late week there, and well, it's, as I said, pushing up and looking stronger today. Dollar yen. Dollar yen remains in its range here. It's struggling from to do anything at all. Yesterday it pitched up a little bit, softened. The yen softened against the US dollar there, but again it was really in the morning shift, and it pitched over, ran back in the afternoon shift, but it's still getting these higher lows, higher highs coming through on the smaller time frame when you start running through. So it's still got this sort of pattern pushing up, still looks bullish. The big money is still running away from the yen at the moment. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar, now this is obviously affected by the Reserve Bank of Australia Governor speaking, and it's actually rolled here a little bit now. It's heading towards that monthly pivot, not liking the comments coming from him, and it's properly, I mean, I said yesterday it sort of pitched lower and gave us this lower high, but it then pulled back up and looked a bit more solid for that weekly pivot, but no, it struggled later in the afternoon there and through the Asian session, and off it's gone. So it's looking quite bearish at the moment, and it might be retracements will offer something for the downside to continue on that move. Now, particularly if all of the forex market, if the dollar gains a bit of strength, it might be just picked on somewhat. In fact, if I show you current situation of the heat map of currencies against other currencies, so it's just individually looked at. The Aussie dollar look at the weakest at the moment there, with the pound being the strongest, as I sort of already identified it is just about as strong, almost strong as the euro, just pitching the pound at the moment, but in fact the euro the strongest at the moment. Okay, fair enough. But certainly the Aussie dollar the weakest there. Canadian dollar not doing too well, second weakest here. It's not this morning against certainly against, well, it's peers I should say. It's peers, right? So also looking really on the only thing that's softer than it is the Aussie dollar, but you just see it's just pushing up here at the moment, and really it's sort of sitting there in that position as a sort of second weakest, yet it's not really done anything, and it's almost the fact that it hasn't done too much, and it's that is the problem there, I guess. And it could easily roll the other side. It's run into its daily pivot now. At some point, a trend line across the lows there, break of that could see it coming back southwards if it starts moving that direction. Right, New Zealand dollar, let's a quick look at that. So consolidated, this was one of the stronger ones. It's softened, it's its third weakest at the moment, but you see it's third weakest with barely doing anything, and it's not really selling off too much. And when you look at these sort of heat maps, one thing to watch out for is it really doing, why is it so weak? Okay, it's not making a big move at this stage, but it's just consolidating. It's not really selling off either, whilst it's the other currencies are doing better against it at the moment. It could pick up. It is slightly more favoured. The bigger money's been easing out of their short positions, and it's been looking a bit stronger. Okay, that's it. A quick look at euro yen. Euro yen. Yesterday it dipped down there, and well, we've picked up, and it picked up quite solidly yesterday, and it's run back to its weekly pivot, looking a much more bullish than it was, and well, it's broken the near-term trend. I'll just show you that the near-term trend running across here. So it's broken through that through the Asian session there. Struggling a little bit at the moment with its weekly pivot. You see these pivots, their price comes up to them, they sort of swarm around it effectively, and you just see the weakness that's sort of sitting around that weekly pivot at the moment. But really, what is it? It's just really a bull flag, and you've got the potential later, maybe if the euro can get some a bit more oomph. Well, there's the sort of targets up to the previous highs. The 200 certainly has been touched before, so it might push through it a little bit easier. But there we go. There's sort of areas it could push up to. Right. Okay. That's that. Now let's just switch across. Look at gold. Actually, let's just do that on here. Gold, real weird old time. It's just consolidating here. It's sort of some intraday price action, looking a bit switching backwards and forwards a little bit. It certainly was looking to sell off yesterday, and then again in the afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, it picked up, and off it went, looking for that weekly pivot. Now it's got itself into a bit of a mess. A higher low maybe on this hourly basis. It's in a range, and I've put the sort of range on there. Now if it can start picking up, and you can start seeing the buying coming into that, and the signals start coming in, well, there's some obviously the prior high there, but the sort of targets of the weekly pivot, maybe even that right up to that 200 at some point, prior highs, but certainly that weekly pivot trading within the range may be worthwhile there, as I say, if it starts picking up there. Right, okay, that's that. Oil picked up yesterday, and we saw it pushing through, properly pushing through and continuing at the moment out through. So as I said yesterday, it's I've taken my eyes away from the short potential. It's no good. It's running up. It's slow now. It's slowing up, and it will slow up, but pushing up already today into its R1. Yesterday, a lot of chop there, making it quite difficult if people are trying to get in and they just get possibly getting knocked out. But the good thing is the higher lows that have been running through that. But overall, just coming back, it's, as I say, that breakout there is just giving it the scope for further upside. Right, that's that. Let's switch across to my other charting. Of course, going straight into crypto today first. Litecoin, you may have seen the push up on a lot of the cryptos, and this is what's wrong with crypto, is the fact that someone was able to put a fake message out yesterday regarding Litecoin being accepted by Walmart, and off it goes, and it goes off so quickly it drags the others with it, and then we find out it's a complete fake bit of news. The site was the Twitter account, or the account was only registered recently, and it's just a fake move, and it's pulled back in. And this is, I mean, how many people started buying nervously? Don't want to miss out, particularly as it's pushing through. It probably took the stops out, the previous stops from, it's a killer. Bitcoin didn't go quite to the same extent of that, but it did get the drag at one stage and sold off again. Ethereum, same thing. At the time it pushed up but sold off, and actually just these markets are just taking a bit of hit. Now they are just consolidating around where they are at the moment, and they're still in the sort of the bigger range that they've been riding in before the move there. I just think we could just end up with a lot more chop until maybe it starts trending a little bit again, and so we start as traders are just they're not going either way at the moment. There's not a lot of flood of money running into this. There's not a flood of money running out of it, and it's just sort of sitting there. And until we start seeing some movement, well, we're stuck at the moment. Okay, that's crypto. Let's have a look at the indices. So the main thing with the crypto is be careful. Don't chase these rumors. Okay, looking across the Nikkei 225, just pushing up there, just breaking out the prior highs there. So continuation and a push through of the Asian markets there, and we saw that also. Well, actually it's sold back. Actually, let's just check that. I thought it pushed up there as well on the Hong Kong index. Still weaker of the group here. A lot of action going on in China at the moment, and it really is could affect some of these markets a lot more. Obviously, Nikkei unrelated to this one. And we're seeing completely opposite here. We're seeing the adverse effect of those Chinese moves. Side of that, let's have a look. We're just in 6 minutes past 8. So the FTSE just off this morning to start with. The DAX, they're all looking at difficult. It's difficult. Like they've got more downside in these markets at the moment, and they could just correct back to their key moving averages, back to 100 MA here. So we could just see these, as I say, pulling back a little bit more. They just look soft. S&Ps yesterday, actually S&Ps. I'm going to finish off with this. I may as well come back onto this chart. It just looks easier to show because I've got more moving averages. Yesterday S&Ps, it was doing quite well. It had turned round and it just ran into its weekly pivot, and we just got a correction from that. So that was pretty much the state of things there. At the moment I'm just looking, and it looks like it's going to run off south again. Okay, that's it for me. I wish you a great day. I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now. When I'm talking like that in